Welcome to today's lesson. In this lesson we focus on nouns again. Already we have identified some four types of nouns. We have explained them vividly. There are four more types that we'll look at by the end of this lesson. So our objective for this particular lesson is to identify four more types of nouns, give examples, at least 5 each, and then we look at how to use these examples of nouns that we have identified, or the four types of nouns that we will look at. The types of nouns that we'll look at in this particular lesson are the countable nouns, uncountable nouns, concrete, and abstract nouns. Now let's take countable nouns. We also call these nouns count nouns, and they're the names of things that we can count. You can count if it is one, you can say one. If it is two, you can say two. And as such, these nouns have what they are called their singular and what their plural forms. So when it is one, there's a way of calling it with the singular. And when it's more than one, we call the plural form. There's a way of what writing or saying it. So the table below gives you some examples. Now we have bag, the singular is still bag and the plural is bags. We have book, the singular is book and the plural is books. Tomato, the singular is tomato, the plural is tomatoes. We have church, which are the singular to be church, the plural to be what? Churches. We have city, singular to be city, plural to be cities. We have baby, the singular is baby, the plural is babies. So when you look at bag, for example, this is one, it is bag. But when it's more than one, we just add s to the bag to make it bags. Book also take what? S to get books. Tomato takes es to get tomatoes. Then church takes es also to get what? Churches. And then city takes ies to get cities. So we'll drop the y and then add ies to show the plural forms. Now, on the contrary, when we are forming the plural forms of irregular nouns, already we have identified that under the countable nouns, we have what we call the regular countable nouns and the irregular countable nouns. And the regular countable nouns, they are those that we have already looked at in the table above. That is, they take the s, es, or ies to form their plurals. But on the exact opposite of that are the irregular countable nouns, which do not take the suffixes that we have identified. Rather, the formation of the irregular countable nouns, their plural forms, comes in different ways. Some of them just a change of the vowel in the middle of the word. Others to take some unique suffixes. So you can see some examples over there. We have foot, foot, feet. We have tooth, tooth, teeth. We have ox, oxen. We have ox, the plural is oxen. We have child, the plural is children. We have man, the plural is what? Men. We have woman, the plural is what? Women. So you see that the plural forms of the irregular countable nouns are different from the plural forms of the regular countable nouns. And we should take note of how we form the plural forms of what? These irregular countable nouns. For example, when you say woman, you want to say something that belongs to what? Women. A lot of them, you say women's hospital. So the apostrophe s comes after the last n. The same applies to child. We have children and children's hospital. We have men and men's attire. So you can't say men's with the s without apostrophe. It is wrong to say that. So take note of that particular example. Now when you got the uncountable nouns. The uncountable nouns are the exact opposite of the countable nouns. We used to say that they are the names of things that one cannot count. They're going to be counted. At best, we quantify these nouns. So you can say a cup of tea, a loaf of bread, a tin of milk, a tin of sugar. So you can't say breads, you can't say milks, we can't say sugars. Take note of that. We quantify these types of nouns. So you must take note of that. Also, these uncountable nouns, because we quantify them, you cannot add just the suffix s to it to show their plural forms. So no. So take note of that. The way you quantify it tells the person you are speaking to the quantity that you want to use. So I want 10 crates of egg, I want 10 cakes of soap, and so forth and so forth. I'm going to say I want soaps. Take note of that. Now I want to look at concrete nouns. Concrete nouns are the names of things that we can touch or we can see with our eyes. So the things that one can use a hand to touch or use an eye to see are what we call the concrete nouns. So most of the things in our house, in our offices, in our houses, in our shops are what we call what concrete nouns. Those you can see with our eyes and then touch with our hands. So you have some examples to be book, tree, mountain, car, house, pen, watch, stone, television, desk, and so forth and so forth. So anything that we can see with our eyes or touch with our hands, we call it what a concrete noun. Take note. Now we have discussed concrete nouns, a bit of them under the countable nouns. So most of the nouns that are countable nouns are concrete nouns because we can count them because we can see them and touch, we're able to count most of them. So it's important to note that most of the concrete nouns are examples of what countable nouns. Take note of that. Now the last types of nouns, look at the abstract nouns. Abstract. When something is abstract, it means you cannot see it with your eyes, you cannot touch it. So these nouns are the exact opposite of concrete nouns, and they're the names of things that we cannot touch with our hands or see with our eyes. We can at best feel or experience these nouns. Sometimes what we go through or what we experience are enough to tell us about what these nouns. So what you experience, what you feel, what you go through is able to tell you whether somebody loves, hates you, or whatever. So take note that the names of things that we cannot touch or see with our eyes are what we call what? The abstract nouns. Some examples of these nouns are love, hatred, jealousy, happiness, sadness, anger, smile, and so forth and so forth. But it's important to strike a difference between when we are writing, the way we write these nouns, because sometimes we are confused as to how the other form of that particular noun works. For example, we have happy. Happy is an adjective. So I say the boy is happy. In this context, the word happy is what? An adjective. But happiness is the abstract noun we're talking about. We have hate is a verb. Hatred becomes the abstract noun. Sad is an adjective, as in the boy is sad. Sadness is the abstract noun we're talking about. Jealousy is a abstract noun. But the word jealous is an adjective. Friendly is an adjective, and then friendliness is what? An abstract noun. So take note and be able to distinguish between the noun forms of these words, as again there are other forms, be it a verb or an adjective. Take note, especially when you're writing. Now we have come to the end of our lessons on nouns. So far we have been able to define nouns, we've given some examples of nouns, and we went ahead to look at the various types of nouns that we have. It is therefore important to take note of how we write or use these nouns, because that is what we need as communicators in the business entity. We'll be writing minutes, we'll be writing memos, we'll be writing adverts. So the features and how we treat this noun that we've looked at is what's important for us as communicators in a business entity, so long as our lessons on nouns are concerned. Now take note, our next lesson will be on pronouns. We'll look at what pronouns are, identify the various types of pronouns that we have, and further take the types one by one and look at it at length. I hope to see you next time in our next lesson. Thank you, and please make sure you go through the slides on the nouns and practice the uses especially. Thank you so much.